Hello everyone, Jking here. As you may already know, we just launched the Topdeckers Patreon. By becoming channel patrons, you will gain benefits such as voting on future content, playing our streamers live, and even having one of your decks featured in our videos. Whether you become a captain, general, or field marshal, we will be very grateful for your contribution and use all proceeds to keep creating new and exciting content for everyone. Now, enjoy the video.
Okay, it seems like we are live. Potentially. Yes, we are live. Okay. Howdy, everybody. Alright, so I'm assuming everybody here already is subscribed, but if not, you guys should subscribe to the Kards Topdeckers channel. They make amazing content. You will not regret it. So, today we're going to start with some ladder. As you can see, I'm rank 6. I might switch to draft later. Is there any decks people have requests to see being played? My missions right now are play orders and play Soviet cards. So I might play some Soviet France. It's always fun. I haven't updated my Soviet France deck in quite some time. I don't know if there's a lot that needs updating to it, though. Let's see, I have two 845ths for a little extra healing. No phony war, which might be pretty useful in the discard meta. Now what to take out? I like the Yak. Really like the Petliakovs. Could you play a game with my Soviet attrition deck? Sure. Can you send that to me, Red Sun? I do not have that. Or if anybody else has, Red's Soviet Japan attrition deck. I don't think I've ever played that before, but I've seen a lot of people play that deck. Alright. Thank you. Alright. So this is, Red Sun's deck. It's a Soviet Japan attrition deck. So if you look at the top end of the deck, it looks like pretty classic control. You have ISU, 272nd, Winter Offensive, Partisans, KV, yada yada yada. But then if you look at the beginning of the deck, you have Deadly Duty, 33rd Recon, Mido Regiment, Hayabusa. So you might be wondering how these two cards work together in the same deck. Basically, it works as a burn deck, but unlike German France, where you sort of just go all in on the burn strategy and the game's over by like turn 7, regardless of who wins. This is sort of a control deck, but instead of relying on huge units to end out the game, you rely on just consistently burning your opponent out throughout the game, which is why you have cards like At All Costs, which deals 2 damage to all. It's one of the few Soviet board clears, but it all includes 2 damage to the opponent. So if you play Mido At All Costs, you're dealing 4 damage to your opponent. Now you can also attack with the Mido before playing At All Costs. At All Costs obviously can clear the board, but you're still dealing 20% of your opponent's health in the process. So yeah, that's sort of the playstyle of the deck. I've never actually played this deck before. I've had it played against me several times, and it looks really fun. So we're going to try this out together. It's a solid tier 3 deck. Yeah, I mean, Red, when you won OCC qualifiers, were you using this deck? Because I know you've brought this deck to OCC qualifiers several times in the past, and I know it's worked out pretty well. Now here's an interesting mulligan. So, it's Soviets. I'm assuming it's going to be a control mirror. First rifles you're keeping anyways. 845th rifles, it's a 2-drop. I'm feeling pretty good about keeping this. I kind of want to keep Parade specifically because if it is a control mirror, Parade is going to be one of the most valuable cards in the deck, just in terms of increasing my hand size. Now the question is, do I keep for Glory? Because there's a lot of really, really annoying Soviet elites. And I'm pretty sure basically every single Soviet deck ever is going to be running at least, like, 6 or 7 elites. Like, elite units, specifically. Of course, the other side is... Oh wait, this is a training. This is against the AI. I hate the new UI. It, like, in the old UI, you had to click on training, like play against the AI. Now you just go into the last mode you were selecting, and while making sure the stream overlay was working, I played against an AI just to make sure, like, in-game everything worked. So yeah, new UI has its it's kinks that need to be sorted out. Mido phase 2, red banner, get Taipei, hit face for another 6, 10 damage. Yeah, if you could pull that off, that'd be pretty sick. There is not a lot to do with confusion this turn, so we're just gonna parade and double push. I could also parade single push, which actually I kind of like better. Jking practices versus bots confirmed. Hey man, practice is practice, and I mean, I can't say I haven't seen worse plays at OCC before than this. Well, that's a pretty good confusion target. How did I get up to 34 health already? That's a pretty cool combo that I hadn't actually considered before. The 152 howitzer. I mean, this is just like a really good card. But it's also like the primary target to be removed right now, and if it does get removed, it's going to be drawing me a card off of Recon. Unfortunately, it's also going to be buffing the attack of his 10th guards. I could just play at all costs this turn. I don't really feel the need to. Could just slam 272nd. In a normal game, I wouldn't, because Partisan's red banner would make me immediately lose the game. Maybe not quite in this situation, because 4 glory is 2 credits, remove Stalin. But against the AI, I'm feeling pretty confident that he's not about to pull out red banner and Partisans. Alright, well, Adel costs this one, so we get the draw off the Recon. And I don't really feel the need to push up. I'm just going to play with this. This is sort of like a mini KV1. The 125th deals 1 damage every time they draw a card. You were expecting the average field marshal comparison? Yeah, I mean, they're both true. Like, the average field marshal player would probably perform alright in top 8. I'm just gonna start burning them out. Honestly, like, at this point, targeting the T-34-85 with orders is going to be a net positive. I might just be able to kill him. Yep. So that's... Oh, that's actually really funny. So, I'm gonna have enough credits to attack anyways. It would be funnier if I didn't have enough credits to attack this, and I killed him with the 1 damage dealt by him drawing a card. But, yeah, let's not play against the AI anymore. See, this is what I mean, like, this is not a clear UI at all. The fact that you just hit 1 play button, and no matter what thing you're on, it displays, well, I guess if you're on draft or campaigns, it shows it different, but if you're on training or battle, they show it the exact same way. And the only way to tell is by looking at this button right here. And, like, I closed and reopened the game, so this is saved information, which is fine. Like, it's good for it to, like, save your preferences, but, like, if I click training once and then open the game a week later, I want to, like, yeah, I have pretty big issues with the new UI, but I mean, basically so does everybody. Greetings from Albania. Welcome, B. So, now we'll see if how long it takes to get an actual human player. We might end up playing against another AI anyways. I saw a screenshot from Ari Big Ben yesterday of being in queue for like 3.5 minutes at rank 6. Now I'm not sure if that's a bug or not. I know there is definitely bugs where you can get like desynced out of the queue, and it will tell you you're still in queue, but you won't actually be in queue. That bug used to happen all the time before. I remember one time I was in queue for draft for like 3 hours, because I just like figured I'd leave my game open. Are you shadow banned again? Okay, I'll let it run till like 2 minutes, and if we hit 2 minutes, I'll just battle versus AI. Was that screenshot in Robin Report? Yeah, I mean, if you are looking for Are You Big Ben, that is the #1 place you're gonna find him. Okay, well, if ladder is gonna be like this, I might switch to draft. Not actually though, but it would be nice to play against human players. Well, we'll just go against the AI now. Van Manstein. There's the one reason to ever play against the AI in cards, other than getting your free wins on the way to Field Marshal, is if you're doing cards speedrunning. So, most of you probably have never heard of cards speedrunning before. Although there might be a certain Albanian in the chat who is familiar with it. But Cards does have a speedrunning category on like speedrun.com. And the goal is to beat the AI as quickly as possible with the different categories of decks. And yeah, once you play against the AI several hundred times, trying to beat it as quickly as possible, you will learn the ins and outs of how the AI behaves and the ins and outs of their decks. And you will see that there is a huge range of deck quality in the AI. It's actually kind of hilarious. Like, some of the AI decks, like, human players would struggle to get a win with, like, beyond rank 10. And then others of the decks, like, you could probably hit top 38 with it if piloted by a human. They haven't heard of it because they have lives. Hey, I don't know what you mean. Cards of speedrunning is a hallowed tradition that is incredibly integral to any card success in the esports scene. Well, this is really interesting. I have At All Costs that I could play here. I also don't need to play it because I can just from the people to 35T, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards. And then I'm actually going to kill the Greyhound. This isn't a huge threat. Now, obviously, he could play another Blitz tank and push up, but it would be somewhat difficult for him to push up and attack with 2 Blitz tanks. And even if he does, these are so low health, I don't care if he trades, and if he goes face, then I just clear the board on the following turn. I could just do, like, Confusion Red Banner. Don't feel the need to yet, though. There's 4 total runners. Who's first? It's between me and Baron. So the player Baron von Glauer, I think was the first person to start doing it. I'm not positive about that. But at least the first person to start doing it well. Set basically all the records on everything. And then I broke some of the records. Might go back and try to break more of them later. It is quite fun. It is quite fun to do. It is not entertaining to watch. Like, I'm a fan of watching speedrunning. I think watching speedrunning can be quite entertaining. But watching card speedrunning is just the most boring thing ever. You're literally just surrendering over and over and over, trying to mulligan as quickly as possible. And if you're going really hard, you don't even mulligan. You, okay, might... Actually, I can't remove that. Am I gonna lose? I could red banner. Look for a guide. There's a couple 6-cost guides. Yeah, I'm just gonna drop the red banner. Easy game. Okay. Yeah, like, if you're going really hard on card speedrunning, you don't even mulligan, because you spend time mulliganing, and if you think about it, the mulligan only makes it more likely you achieve the perfect starting hand needed. Except if speedrunning is all about getting the perfect run, then the perfect speedrun will not involve a mulligan. You will just be given all of the cards you need before mulliganing. So yeah, speedrunning gets really silly really fast in cards. Well, in all games, really. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave the first rifles. I could at all costs to clear the board, but like, even if you top decks a Blitzkrieg, it's not even enough to deal damage through the guard. I'm coming for your Brit speedrun. I don't even know what you would do for Brit speedrun. Like, I guess you would just go for an air high roll. I feel like that's the other thing, is like, depending on what patch you're playing, the AIs had different decks. Because they've updated the AIs to be much, much better and have much better decks. Well, their play style is about the same, but they have much better decks than they used to. And that's like actually a huge difference. Like now, there used to be a ramp deck that would essentially not play cards that interact with the board for like the first 6 turns of the game anytime you played against it. Now that deck has like the gunship missions and awoken giants and stuff, so it's a lot harder to beat the AI within like 30 seconds than it used to be. I'm just gonna do this for science. If I play Deadly Duty on this, do I overdraw 1 card, or do I overdraw the 35T? What do people think? Before I play it, I'm curious, what do people think? When I play Deadly Duty, to destroy this, draw 2 cards. I have 8 cards in hand, 7 after playing Deadly Duty. This draws 2, this adds a card to my hand on destruction. What triggers first? Imagine if ChatGPT replaces our AI. Honestly, would probably do better. Okay, so you think the destruction effect triggers first, and then I draw 2 cards. James would never be able to get to the bottom of FM record, I bet. Oh, I bet I could. Not on this account, but... I think you'll overdraw 1 card, not the T-34. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good card to overdraw. Well, as in, it's a very good card, and I overdrew it. I would have liked to have not overdrawn it, but, I mean, it's not going to have an impact on this game. It's not lethal here, right? So attack, Winter Warfare, Winter Offensive is 1 off lethal, and attack, Winter Offensive at all costs is 1 credit too much, so I don't think there's a lethal here. I will play a tempo ISU there. That was probably a bad idea. I should have just played the T60, because if you top decks like Enigma, into the whole bunch of things somehow. But it's the AI, it doesn't matter. Yeah, just like Bubble said, you draw the 2 cards last. I mean, when it comes to card games, it's fine if a card game wants to do things in their own way. So, like, I'm very used to Hearthstone, where order of operations has a very specific order, and Cards does it differently than that sometimes, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're gonna have order of operations, at least make it clear why, or make it clear how it works, and make it work the same way 100% of the time. Because, my goodness, there's sometimes where, like, 2 cards will do the exact same thing, but behave differently in niche situations. I mean, at least it's better than before. It used to be that some cards would behave randomly. So, like, one of the big things, the biggest example of this is in Hearthstone, when you play, like, the game keeps track of how long every single unit has been on the board. Like, it doesn't display this to you, but internally it keeps track of how long each unit has been on the board. And each unit is given a number when it gets onto the board, that number being the order of, the order that it got onto the board. So basically number 1 is going to be the oldest unit on the board, and anytime any AoE effect triggers, it triggers in the order of how long they have been on the board. So it will hit the oldest unit first. So if 2 units die at the same time, whichever was played first, the destruction effect on that will trigger first, etc, etc. Whereas in Cards, it used to be random. Like, completely and utterly random. If your opponent had a Signal Regiment and 4 units on board and you played a Carpet Bombing, sometimes you took 0 damage, sometimes you took 4 damage. Yeah, so at least it's marginally better than that. Hearthstone Heroes of Warcraft trademark reference. What about your Winter Warfare into 2-1 health HQs? I guess you win. So, I know in Hearthstone, I think you can draw. Like, I think just the game ends and nobody gains or loses points. I'm pretty sure. Do not quote me on that. Oh, we have an actual player. Okay. So assuming this is Jaguar, do I actually want to keep Howitzer? I have a lot of forecast guides I think are probably better than this destruction effect, since it's difficult, somewhat difficult for me to kill that. This is not great. I know in Cards it used to be random. I think at one point, I'm not actually 100% positive about this. The way I think it should work is the person who plays the card should lose. Since if you are in a situation where you have no other play but to end, like, to kill yourself and your opponent to force a draw, it should be on you. Like, if your choices are lose or draw, then I think you should be the one who loses if you go for a draw. Or draw, so, like, if you want to just draw the game, that's perfectly fine, but as of now, Cards does not do draws anymore. So, if somebody is going to lose, I think it should be the person who plays the card. Yeah, that's what I remember from Hearthstone. Like, it says lose, it says both players lose, but nobody actually loses ranks. I probably should have considered just doing For Glory last turn. I completely forgot about that. I can For Glory the Signal Regiment and then trade the Recon into the Type 93. That was a pretty substantial misplay on my part. We'll get the Mito out. The bike is dealing the most damage at the moment. And this is a credit efficient play. What did you guys use to work out on the clock for speedrunning? I just looked back on the recording and made my best estimate when I submitted it, and then there's a mod who runs it who did retimings, I think. I'm not exactly sure how they do the retimings. Like, I'm not sure exactly at what point they use to define when the game starts and when the game ends, etc. So I'd really like to be able to kill this Signal Regiment and also do anything else with my turn at the same time. I think I'm gonna parade. Okay, that's a pretty good card to parade into. Here's a question. Do I for glory this? Now, call me crazy, but I don't think he's going to be trading, so I don't think he's going to be dealing more damage with the Signal Regiment, and if he does, then I think I'm happy with that. And this way the Naval Brigade is removing the signal, rather than, if I played it in this situation, I would have taken the exact same amount of damage, but the difference is he still has a Dina on the board. If he double surprise attacks the Mido, he's insane. Okay, well I guess this is the card that I could draw. And a couple others that punish not killing signal last turn. Because now I'm going down to 1 health. I'm probably just dead. Would have been a pretty good Winter Warfare turn. Yeah. GG Zelensky. Jking was boasting about how good he is in cards. Yeah, that sounds like me. That checks out. Howdy, Jking. Yeah, shout out to Jking for doing all of the artwork that you saw, like the... I mean, what you see on screen now, the thumbnail, like the promotional art, I mean, all that, courtesy of Jking. Is Diversion still bugged? I don't think I have ever played Diversion before, so, unfortunately I can't answer that. Like, I don't think... I'm certain I have never played the card. I think I've only seen it played against me, like, twice, so I don't even know what the bug is. Oh, the Imperial Decree? Yeah. The Imperial Decree is still bugged. Which is kind of sad. I really wanted to play, like a Japan control deck using Imperial Decree. And I know it's perfectly fine to play Imperial Decree the way that it is. Like, it's a bug, but they're not gonna, like, ban everybody who plays it from ladder. But at the same time, I just don't want to play it since it's what everybody's doing. Like, I don't want to play it because of the bug, I just wanted to play it in general. Yeah, it is banned in tournaments until they fix the bug. So yeah, Imperial Decree is supposed to be the next damage order you deal this turn does 1 more damage. In the current version is unintentionally doing all damage orders you play for the rest of the turn deal 1 more damage. So if you play, like, 4 Imperial Decrees, and then you play 8 Kamikazes, all 8 of the Kamikazes will be dealing 5 damage, instead of just the first one dealing 5 damage. You'd like to see a change where guard units could still get smokescreen, but the guard wouldn't work as long as they have smokescreen. Yeah. I mean, it would not be, like, impossible for them to make that change. Because the way it works now is not... As far as I'm aware, it just happens to be that every card that gives guard cannot give it to a smokescreen unit, and every unit that has a smokescreen cannot... Or every card that gives smokescreen can't give it to a guard unit. So in the future, I think it could pretty easily just add those types of cards to the game without having to change a whole lot. This is probably the last game I'm going to play on this deck. Might switch to Reichsbank Spank Commandos after this. Artie. Wish I kept the Winter Warfare now, but still should be fine. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when it started, but I think pretty recently. Like my guess, I think there was a patch like a week ago. My guess would be around then. Just because that card is something that sees a decent amount of play. I feel like it would be pretty hard for that bug to go unnoticed for like longer than a couple days. Okay, Soviet German Artie. Or Soviet German anti-air. I've seen those types of decks on ladder. Like, obviously this is the AI, so it is probably just a really bad Artie deck, but... Artie Big Ben. Makes me think of, Artie Big Dog. All the very, very old Cards players will remember him. Full stack of Blackout incoming. Man, I lost to Blackout like 2 months ago. Like, it was on one of the final days. I lost to, like, a 4 Blackout, I think, Jagra? I forget exactly what the deck was, but it was not good. I can tell you that much. Man, speaking of, old cards, well, old things in cards, the Blackout used to be, so Blackout, for anybody who's not familiar, since that card does not see a lot of play, Blackout currently says pin a enemy air unit. Could be target air unit. I'm pretty sure it says pin enemy air unit. Draw a card for 1 credit. And that's pretty good. I mean, the reason it doesn't see play is because if your opponent doesn't play an air unit, you literally cannot play the card. And you don't want a card in your deck that cannot be played under certain circumstances. This seems like a good veto. Although, or not veto, Confusion, sorry. Although in retrospect, saving that for Deadly Duty might have been better. But anyways, I'm getting off track. Blackout. So yeah, the reason it doesn't see play is because obviously they need to play an air unit, and not everybody plays air units. However, a long time ago, 2019, the card used to say, draw a card, pin all enemy air units. Which is way, 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 way better. Because it's essentially like a worse Monty. It's like Monty, it's like old Monty, except it only pins air units. Except that was insane, because your opponent didn't need air units on the board. It wasn't the fact that, like, everybody had a ton of air units. It was specifically the fact that you could play it while the opponent was running no air units. So it was just 1 mana draw a card, with a pretty big upside some of the time. So yeah, they changed it, and since then it hasn't seen any play, but Blackout used to be nuts. There's a little bit of Cards lore for you. Okay, don't... This needs to go, this needs to go. So this is going like this is going like this, draw last. Is this target elite? I can for glory my own 272nd to get the Stalin. I wonder if there's a situation where for glory on your own unit would ever be the right play. Like, I guess if you... I mean, the obvious situation would be like if your opponent's at 1 health and you have a signal regiment and another elite, but... You tack strike it. Alrighty. I think they intended Gunboat Raid to be a part of that deck, but it got so unwieldy. Yeah. I mean, the problem with Gunboat Raid is similar problem to Blackout. Slightly less of an issue than Blackout, but similar in scope. Is the fact that the first part of Gunboat Raid is deal damage to a unit in the front line. So if your opponent just doesn't have a unit in the front line, the entire card can't be played. And there's a lot of decks that either never move units to the front line, or very, very rarely move units to the front line. Like Air, like Commandos. I mean, like decks like Unitless, where they just don't run a lot of units, period. Like Discard doesn't really move units to the front line frequently. And in those matchups, it's just a completely dead card, and you essentially never want to run a card which is functionally useless some of the time. Now, obviously, there's a couple of exceptions. Like, you could argue Commonwealth is functionally useless if you do not have 30 health, and you have less than, like, and you're out of cards in deck, or you only have a couple cards in deck. Except that's like your win condition. You don't want a tech card, or just a general okay meh card, that is sometimes completely useless. Remove the discard part of Gunboat. If you remove the discard part of Gunboat, it becomes a lot better. Like, that's an interesting idea, actually. Like, maybe you could keep the discard on just the last part, the deal damage to HQ, because I could see an issue with being able to just keep stacking up those in your hand, since you're essentially just, like, adding kamikazes to your hand. But yeah, that could be interesting. There's so many ways that so many things they could do to improve the quality of Japan's control collection. I know on my channel, Jking 7 on YouTube, my last video was a tier list of all of the nations, and I put Japan as the lowest, and I got a lot of flack for that. A lot of people very much disagreed with me for putting Japan below Poland, specifically. I put Poland second last. And the reason I did it is just because Japan has, like, no way to go forward right now. Like, there's a lot of decks in the game where it's like, oh, if you had 1 or 2 cards, this deck could be meta. Or not even meta, but just somewhat relevant. Like Alpine. Alpine needs, like, 1 or 2 new cards, and suddenly it's back. And it could be new Alpine cards, it could be new removal cards, it could be new mana cheat cards, new tempo cards. Like, there's a wide variety of cards that you could add to the game that would make some decks like Alpine playable, or at least interesting. Japan has almost no decks that function like that. Like, virtually zero. Think right now, if they added, like, 2 new cards of your choice, like, you got to design 2 new Japanese cards, what new decks you could create with just 2 cards? Because I can think of, like, a lot of decks in the game right now, like Spitfire, T-34, 2 really well-designed cards. Powerful and impactful, could make those decks, like, up to tier 2. Japan just has absolutely nothing. So this is Reichsbank Commando. You saw it, beginning of the game, we did Spoils of War, picked the Crusader, turn 3 Reichsbank, and now we are popping off. This convoy is going to draw me up to 8. Hopefully it can draw me into a Honey or a Commando, because I really want to play Cup of Tea, but I also would like to play Cup of Tea on more than just 1 unit, if possible. Because I don't want to overdraw. Ooh, I could play Raid, actually. The Raid should keep this alive. But yeah, like, I think a really interesting direction for Japan control that I would like to take it in, but it would require quite a few cards, would be a sort of big order in Japan, where, like, you create a bunch of cards that have quality synergy based on there being expensive orders. So either cards that reduce... the reason I did it in this order is just because if there's Stranglehold, and like, the odds of Stranglehold is pretty low, and I could have done Spoils of War, I suppose, if I had played Pioneers first. But you never know, and at this stage I'm still not entirely sure what I want off of Spoils of War. But yeah, so like, cards that reduce the cost of specifically expensive orders. So I really, really hate cards that just give you free credits. Like, I think Reichsbank is fine, because you're spending 3 credits to invest 5 credit, like, to get 5 back on specifically the following turn. But cards like Observer Corps, I hate. I think cards like Observer Corps are way too powerful just as a potential card in the future. Okay, can I get cards that I can play? Okay, where are my units? I swear I have units in this deck. There we go. Yeah, so something that, like, if you have a 10 cost, or like an order that costs 8 or more in hand, do X. Or like a unit that is really, really expensive for like a small body, with deployment, your next order costs 0. So it's like a net tempo gain that can be exclusively used for these expensive orders, rather than a card like Observer Corps, where it can be used for an infinite number of reasons in an infinite number of situations, and leads to things like turn 2 Southern Plan that breaks the game. So this is discard. We've got a Fog of War and Crusader. That's kind of fine. At this point, I'm just going for Commandos, I think. That's not bad. I think because I'm drawing with Crusaders, I think I would rather... I think I want Commonwealth in the deck, to be completely honest. And I'm not playing another Commando until I get a cup of tea. Yeah, so I think there's a couple of ways you can make Japan control quite interesting. I would say take 1k from the first card in Gunboat and add it to the second card you get. Okay, that's possible. Jking, streaming idea, you should start a podcast about cards. I actually had a podcast about cards a very long time ago. It was not that good. Don't worry about trying to find it. It was pretty bad. Do I want to try to go off on the Commandos? Potentially. I think I want to play this first. Could just hit him in the face for 2. I know this is like net less damage than playing Timely Supplies, but I do want to keep a couple cards in hand for Crusader. So at this point I just need to not have Commonwealth discarded in the next 4 turns. Which means I don't want to draw too many cards. I think I have 1 Commander left in deck. Yeah, there it is. Okay, let's see if I had a 0 cost order. We do. I think I can pass now, because Monty should be the 3rd or 4th last card in my deck, which means there's 2 more cards before I can draw, not my Commonwealth. So there's 2 more cards before I can draw Commonwealth, which means I don't want to try to draw it before I have the opportunity to play it. If possible, I want to draw it on the turn that I'm going to play it. Okay, that's the best card in his hand. He could have hit with the discard, but the fact that he's playing discard now is a net positive for me. Hey Jking, have you tried making a deck with only autocomplete? I haven't tried it, but it sounds fun. I feel like I did that a while ago. Like a long time ago. Do I want to play this? I think I'm assuming it's getting altered. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll just start dealing some damage. Yeah, I haven't done that. That sounds like something that would be really fun to do against somebody else that is doing it, and less fun to do like on ladder in general, because just playing ladder with a bad deck with no theme, I feel like is less fun than if you're playing with a bad deck with no theme against another bad deck with no theme. I find that if you have 10 or less health archetype, it will be very underwhelming. Yeah, I mean, that's just an archetype that's just going to always suck, because it requires you to be under 10 health. And, I don't know, you're just always gonna die if that happens. Like, there's just so much burn in the game, like... This guy should be running low on removal, right? I actually might have lethal here. If I get... Okay, well, not with that. Yeah, if I had a supply shortage, I would have lethal by playing supply shortage in Monty to deal 4 damage with Commandos. Can you confirm Jafar Kingston is indeed your government name? No comment. And we got him. Yikes Bank defeating Commandos. Or, sorry, Yikes Bank Commandos defeating Discard. As God intended. It's the funniest thing if you don't look at decks first, you autocomplete and go straight into the match. I don't think I've done that in Cards, but I've definitely done that in Hearthstone back when I played Hearthstone. Hold on. I don't understand why Ancient Empire sets health to 8 and not, say, 10. Probably because they were worried that setting health to 10 would have been too strong. Like, I don't think they wanted people to, one, be using it outside of a dedicated, like, lower your health deck. Like, I don't think they wanted, like, I don't know, resistance using it as, like, a backup healing method. And 2, I think they were worried about, like, if you play it on turn 2, and then you start slamming Sunrise divisions, like the 9-9, if you have 10 or less health, or the 2-3 Blitz IDs if you have 10 or less health. I think they were worried about the power of people just playing those out, starting from turn 3 and onwards. So as to stop that being too powerful, they have you go to 8 instead of 10. So that way it makes it easier for your opponent to just rush you down if you try to go, like, full YOLO for it. Jking, what was the biggest comeback moment you had on ladder in recent time? That's a very good question. I feel like I have a lot of games where it's not necessarily like I'm at 1 health and I make, like, the complete turnaround from 1 health. But a lot of games where it's like, I have absolutely no business winning. Like, it's a frontline mirror, where I have, like, 1 card in hand and I don't have control of the front line, and he has, like, 4 cards in hand and, like, 2 units in the front line. So it's, like, positionally lost, like, the person should not be able to, like, I should not be able to win from that position. If you, I just showed you a screenshot, you should say, you're at full health, but you will lose this game 100% of the time. And then just through exploiting my opponent's mistakes, I like get control of the front line for one turn, and I play Sherman into a Sherman, and suddenly we're equal hand size, and even though I'm still down on tempo, I like go for the 8/8 5th Rangers, and I'm able to like start maintaining control of the front line, getting more tempo, and yeah, a lot of games like that, rather than being at like 1 health and making a control style comeback, just because I play a lot more aggro decks on ladder, and aggro decks typically have a lot of less close games, or at least the close games look less close, because it's usually like, I'm at full health, but I'm very low on cards, and I top deck the things needed to deal the last bit of damage to my opponent. And I feel like the coolest close matches are the ones where you're at like 1 health, and you're able to turn it around. The problem is the deck completely crafts itself if you happen to not draw Ancient Empires early though, right? Yeah, or if you draw too many Ancient Empires, or if you draw Ancient Empires and not the things that Ancient Empires enables, because there's not actually a lot of cards that want you to be that low on health. There's like 7. So yeah, the deck as a whole is just very, very bad. But it's a deck that can produce highlights. Like, I'm sure people have sent screenshots around of them having like the 3 Sunrise divisions on the board by like turn 4. Just because a deck can produce a very good situation does not mean it is a good deck. There are 8. Oh, is the Audi a standard? I was thinking the Audi's a limited, but actually the Audi might be a standard now that I'm like thinking about it more. POV turn 11, you're on 1 health, your opponent's sitting on 8, you top deck Shiden. I feel like I'm the opponent in that situation, Red. I feel like we have been there before, and I'm the opponent. Okay, let's look for a 0-cost Commandos. 1-cost Commandos, 0-cost Cup of Tea. And look at that. It's turn 4, and look at this situation. Like, how on earth is my opponent supposed to come back from this? That was the worst target for him to hit. Like, as in, it's very good for me. It is bad for him that he hit that target. Gonna get another Reichsbank off. Gain some credits. Might as well pin the unpinned unit. It's turn 5, I've healed 16. This feels like the good old days when people first discovered US Commandos, back when supply chain could go to 0 cost, and special delivery was draw 3. And like people were running Indian brigades, and also there was no health cap, so like people were getting up to like 160, 170 health by like turn 6 or 7. It's really funny. You'd get like triple honey on the board, 0-cost supply chains, and like an Indian brigade. So every time you drew a card, you would heal 6 health. And you're drawing like 20 cards a turn. So the problem now is he did manage to remove a bunch of units, which is annoying. Okay, well, I managed to fully clear the board, so I can't play my naval power, which is probably fine. This is why you do Japan Commandos, do Ancient Empires slowly as pings with reorganizes to get extra pings and shuffle the extra Ancient Empires back in. That sounds like the worst thing I've ever heard. But also simultaneously amazing. Hopefully I can get a, not this at all. Resourcefulness gets 2 cards out of my deck. Timely Supplies also gets 2 cards out of my deck. I have a Timely Supplies in hand. Let's go for this, get the Commando, and then naval power it. How good behaves that Commando deck into Jaguar and Frontline? Into Frontline, this deck is insane, because they have almost no way to kill your Commandos, and the deck is usually not that fast. And like just a little bit of ping, just a little bit of pin can slow them down enough to basically crush them before they can blitzkrieg you. Against Jagro, it's a little closer since Akitas can be annoying, the deck's faster, and this deck can be somewhat slow. It doesn't run like Bloody Sickles or anything, obviously. Or supply shortages. So against Jagro, it can be a little weaker. I still think it's probably favored against both. Just because, again, Jagro's a deck that's going to struggle to kill your Commandos once they're on board. Okay, please kill the Blackwatch. Alright, we got it. Sorry, let me restate. A podcast about cards with other people and their opinions besides your own. Having a back and forth with someone is better than just sitting listening to someone's opinion. Yeah. I get what you mean. I had a podcast with Darkness, and we brought on like Ollie and stuff. Now, I definitely think most of the issues with that old podcast were both Darkness and I being just less experienced in general with talking to an audience, or like in front of an audience. Maybe I should have done Monty first, because I get one less ping, but I get the guaranteed card draw. Please don't hit the, Oh wait, he has a second Blackwatch. Completely forgot about that. But yeah, shoot. Podcast, I definitely would not write it off as a future possibility. Do not have any intentions of doing that currently. Crusader and massive frame drop. Holy cow, the frames. Is it true that some decks are good as memes because they would be infuriating to play against if competitive through a buff, for example, Japan's self-discard? No, I think those decks are, like, I think some decks, well, okay. Yes. I don't think Japan self-discard is an example of that. I think decks that are more just like a hyper-aggressive, like decks that try to end the game as quickly as possible, would be example of decks that are purposefully not given extra tools, because that would just be deeply, deeply unfun. Even like if there's tons of counterplay, just run 4 Awoken Giants in every deck, but that would suck. I think decks like Betty are not given new cards because, like, not for any particular reason. Like, if you look at Betty, Betty has been given a whole bunch of cards. It just happens to be all of the cards that Betty has got is worse than cards that exist in other decks. And I don't think they want to just, like, start throwing in super powerful cards or buffing cards to be super powerful, because they have tried doing that before and it has led to very, very broken decks. Like, a lot of times they have buffed a card and the deck was too good and they had to then take back the buff or nerf other cards that were part of that deck. And I don't think they like doing that. So I'm assuming that Betty, they're probably happy with where Betty is now in terms of the number of cards that exist for it, and in the future, if it becomes a meta because of a shift in what decks other people are playing or what cards other people are playing, I think they'd be happy with that. But I kind of doubt they would move forward with more Betty cards in the future, or at least not more than like 1 or 2 Betty cards in the future. Like, I don't think the next expansion is going to be like Betty themed for Japan. I would assume we are either getting new archetypes or please, please, please support some sort of Japanese control deck. Yeah. You should just become the next road Jogan. True. Because devs don't want to create counter to discard. I mean, there is a bunch of counter to discard, it just doesn't happen to be good. But I mean, to be fair, discard is typically not good. Well, sorry. Discard has not been super good for a long period of time. Time starts on the first frame after clicking confirm on the mulligan screen. Tones gray. Time ends at the first frame where victory UI element can be seen. On the first frame after clicking confirm. Okay, so you can spend as much time on the mulligan as you want. That is very interesting information. Because I was going off the assumption that you couldn't do that. Like, I was going off the assumption that it started as soon as, like, you could click cards. Like, as soon as I mean, they don't turn green like they do in Hearthstone, but... It's obviously not podcast format, but our showcase matches we have on... Yeah, actually, that's very true. Topdeckers... Like, I feel like Topdeckers very much holds the... Like, if you want cards-based podcasts, just... I mean, look at the current channel you are on. I think they already do a very great job of that format, and I mean, I don't think I would have anything to add to that. Also, it's a lot less effort for me to occasionally appear in Kards Topdeckers videos alongside somebody else than it is for me to have to organize that. I'm very glad that I'm not having to organize people. Organizing people is not something that I'm particularly good at or particularly enjoy doing. I would really like this Akita to die just because so I can stop having to worry about where the destruction effect is going to hit. Okay, that worked out really well. I think they are trying to keep it dynamic so, like, card can be very good in a deck type, but decent in general. Yeah. That's what I'd assume. I kind of prefer that they have it laid out in the rules. Tarouchi playing Jaguar Handlock. Yeah, I remember back in the day before Lend-Lease when MI5, like, there was so little card draw in the game that MI5 was in basically every single Britain deck ever. Like, Brit Air would run 4 convoys and 2 MI5s. Great game. Great state of the game. Okay, we got the bank. We're kind of lined up for a... how do you call it? Bombing raid at the moment. Or daylight bombing onto the 2-1. Okay, you wanna see a pop-off? I'm gonna show you a pop-off. Is it worth... Okay, so at the moment I need to cast 6... Yeah, so it's not worth playing this, actually. Timely Supplies into Convoy. Convoy into Cup of Tea. Spoils of War into Timely Supplies. Timely Supplies. Okay, Commonwealth. Cup of Tea. Reichsbank. And I could still play another order that turn if I wanted to. Yeah, I just killed my opponent from essentially full health. Um, that was a 21 damage turn with Commandos. This is what I love about the deck, is like when I actually originally built this deck, I didn't run Commonwealth. I've later put it in just because it's really good consistency against decks that run a lot of removal for your Commandos. But the original build of the deck was intended to be like sort of a Commandos aggro deck where you were trying to deal lethal damage with Commandos, rather than it being Commonwealth is your win condition and sometimes you win through Commandos. For every hour you see Jking on stream, there's 4 to 5 production hours of us trying to organize him. It's true. I am notoriously difficult to organize. They say, be here at 2 p.m. sharp, and at like 4:30 they're still phoning me, and I'm like out on a walk somewhere. I come in the next day. Tell them to stick it where the sun don't shine. Literally an entire day to get that pineapple shirt screen ready. I miss Flamewaker Mage, good thing it's still playable in cards. Yeah, I mean, Flamewaker was way better than Commandos is in cards for a variety of reasons. For people that don't know, Flamewaker is a card from Hearthstone, which read, whenever you cast an order, deal 2 random damage to enemies. Okay. Dykes. I feel like Night Raid, at this point, with no bank and no Crusader, I think taking a second Night Raid is a little ambitious. So I'm just gonna stick with this. Get the raid out. Early raid shuts down it decks so hard. It's possible he has a patrol or a dive bomb in here, which would really suck, but it appears he doesn't because he just played a 3-credit 30-second infantry. Massive frames drop again. Is it the ants? Are the ants giving me frame drop? Okay, timely supplies into timely supplies. Into spoils of... this is why I love timely supplies. This is like exactly... This has huge Dominion energy to it. This is basically what you're trying to do in Dominion every single turn. Like, this is the card's equivalent of Village into Village. Okay, we'll get a 3rd Spoils of War. And he's probably just gonna play Cup of Tea. Or, sorry, he's probably just gonna play Half Track if I play Cup of Tea. He will 100% play Half Track if I play Cup of Tea. The question is it worth playing anyways? No, I don't think so. Because he probably Half Tracks it, and then next turn I replay Commandos, I do Spoils of War Cup of Tea. We actually told him the stream was planned for the 13th, just so he'd be ready for the 15th. Okay, so he didn't play Half Track, which is fine. It just means I'd have 2 more credits here. Okay, we finally find a bank. And with this bank, I'm just going to play it. I don't have a Crusader yet, but this is going to let me get Night Raid out if he Half Tracks the Commandos. It's going to give me the credits to replay that. I think if I'm playing Cops next turn, I have to play 2 Cops to get them out of Strap Bombing range. I think this is sort of a best case scenario for me. I mean, yeah, this is best case scenario. I'm happy the Half Track came down. Like, obviously he could have more, and he's potentially setting up a Blitzkrieg lethal, but... That's gonna be a pretty good card. Just pin the one that doesn't die. Hopefully it kills one of them. It does. Double hit face. Yeah, I don't need to play another cup of tea. Second half track. Is he gonna have triple half track? Okay. That would be really bad if I didn't have Monty, but I do have Monty, so we're chilling. Crusader is also a very good draw. Now the question is, do I want to do Crusader, cup of tea, Monty, or do I want to just do... Yeah, no, I do want to do that. I don't have 6 credits. For some reason I was thinking I had enough credits to do... We can do it and Monty this turn. Monty first in case the Commandos kill one of the 2/2 tanks. Which they do. Yeah, Timely Supplies is very underrated. I love that card so much. The problem right now is it's in Britain. Like, if it was in any other nation, like if Timely Supplies was a Japanese card, that would open up so many interesting possibilities. But being a British card, it's like, why would you want to run a card that thins your deck at the cost of consistency when you are in a nation with the best card draw in the game and enough card draw to draw through your entire deck consistently anyways? So, do we pop off with... Probably gonna pop off with the honey. Obviously I would really like to get the Pioneer on the board, but I also think healing is probably more important than Pioneer at this point. Ooh, okay. I think I'm gonna go for Convoy. Get some naval powers. Well, that ran out of steam pretty fast. Yeah, this is another big problem with the deck, is board space. But, I mean, if you just look at that turn, I healed 8 and killed a unit and dealt damage to, like, 2 more units. And drew, like, several cards. You smashed the world record, annihilated. Yeah, it was really funny. When I started the speedrunning, I think the first thing I tried to do was, like, the Japan regular format world record. And on my first or second game, I blew the record away by, like, 20 seconds, which is insane. Like, I halved the time on the first record I tried on my first or second try. And then I spent the next, like, hour and a half trying to beat the record at all, on the second record. So Reichsbanks is getting played. I think I'm just gonna go for the Pioneer. This puts me up to 8. Let's see what I get. Get the naval power, but the board gets cleared, so we're fine. I've seen so many people trigger 3k entrapment with Timely Supply. Draw. I don't think I've ever seen that. It's a weird combination. Oh my god, this guy's running the Cursed Beef. Okay, I think there's a good possibility he's just dead this turn. I might run out of cards though. We'll see. Okay, we'll get to see what's left in the deck. Pretty good cards. So we know what's left in the deck is not, like, necessarily the greatest thing ever. Is there guaranteed lethal this turn? One, two... Oh, it's one off! Okay. Well, it's fine. We're taking an obscene amount of fatigue damage, but, one off. I think if the pings had cleared the front line sooner, I would have been able to play a night raid. But yeah, look at that. We demolished this frontline deck. Was not even close. It's turn 10, and I'm drawing into 5 of fatigue. Like, yeah. This is just Dominion the Cards deck. When this deck goes off, it's like not even fair. Okay, you know what? That's enough ladder. I'm tired of playing against mostly AI and like 2-minute queues. We are going to go into draft mode. Does it not tell you how many?
Before you leave, make sure you take a look at our Discord server, a friendly hub where you can continue the fun after you watch our content by chatting with the Topdeckers team and the rest of the community. See you in the next video!